You won't believe what I'm about to tell you, but please know this isn't a story I made up. My name is James Martinelli, and 5 days ago, on September 13th, 2025, my life ended in the most unexpected way. I passed into a place beyond time, and there, I met Jesus himself. He showed me what is about to happen at the end of this month and the beginning of October. 4 events that will shake the world and awaken millions of souls. I am writing this not for fame, not for compassion, but because his words still burn inside me. You must hear what he told me. I was in my garage that morning, just as I have been every day since I retired from the mechanic shop 3 years ago. People think I'm a strange guy, I know. At 62 years old, I spend my days repairing vintage radios and antique clocks that nobody wants anymore. My wife Maria teases me, "James, you're the last person in the world who still believes these things have value." But for me, bringing forgotten objects back to life is more than a hobby. It's a mission. Every gear I fix, every sound I manage to bring back from the silence, reminds me that nothing is ever truly dead if someone still believes in it. That morning I was working on an old 1962 Grundig radio. It had belonged to a World War II veteran, and his daughter had brought it to me with tears in her eyes. "Dad listened to it every night before he went to sleep," she had told me. "Since he died, it hasn't made a sound." I had accepted the challenge, as always. As I fiddled with the electronic tubes, something strange began to press on my chest. It wasn't physical pain. It was more like the air itself was waiting for me to notice something important. I shrugged, whispering to myself, "I probably need a coffee." But then something happened that froze my blood. The radio, without being plugged in, began to emit a sound. Not music, not speech. A sweet, almost melodic hum. I leaned toward it, my heart beating faster. "How is that possible?" I murmured. And at that precise moment, the sound turned into a voice, clear as crystal. "James, are you ready?" I jumped back, dropping the screwdriver. I looked around, but I was completely alone in the garage. The radio was silent again. The rest of the day unfolded in a series of small, unsettling events. Every clock I fixed stopped at exactly 3:27 p.m. My cat, usually independent, sat at the garage door for hours, staring at me with eyes that seemed too intelligent. And everywhere I went, I felt as if invisible eyes were watching me. That evening, as I was having dinner with Maria, I told her, "Today was a strange day." She looked up from her plate. "In what way?" I didn't know how to explain it to her. "I have a feeling that something important is about to happen." On the morning of September 13th, I woke up at exactly 3:33 a.m. My bedside clock illuminated those digits as if they wanted to burn my retina. When I went down to the kitchen for a glass of water, the house seemed different, too quiet. Even the refrigerator, which usually hummed continuously, was silent. I poured the water and whispered, "God, what are you trying to tell me?" No response, just a silence that seemed alive. At dawn, the light filtering through the window was clearer than usual, almost alive. My neighbor, an elderly gentleman named Giuseppe, greeted me from across the street. He shouted, "Strange morning, isn't it?" "It seems like the world is holding its breath." His words made me jump. Why did he say exactly that? As I drove toward the city center for some errands, the car radio suddenly went silent. Instead of the usual static, a single sentence whispered through the speakers, "It's time." I frantically turned the knob, but the voice was gone. The rest of the morning unfolded with small but penetrating interruptions. My wristwatch stopped at 9:11. The church bells rang, even though it wasn't the right time. And everywhere I turned, I felt as if invisible eyes were watching me. I told myself, Something is about to happen. I had no idea that something concerned me. It happened that afternoon. I was in my garage trying to repair an old music box that played Ave Maria. Suddenly, the music box began to play on its own, even though the mechanism was completely disassembled. The melody filled the air, sweet and supernatural. I stopped, my heart in my throat. "How is that possible?" I whispered. Then it came, a whooshing sound in my ears, like an ocean wave breaking inside me. I staggered, grabbing the workbench. The floor tilted beneath me, but instead of falling, I felt lifted, pulled upward, weightless. My vision blurred, but the strangest thing was the calm. No panic, just liberation. I heard a woman's voice whisper near me, even though no one was there. "The time has come." I looked down and gasped. My body was still there, slumped against the bench, but I was standing above it. "No, this can't be happening," I whispered. And yet it was happening. The sounds of the garage faded, replaced by a swirling silence. A light appeared at the other end of the room, not blinding but inviting, pulling me like a magnet. I resisted. "Wait, my wife. She needs me." But the pull grew stronger. And then, in a single blink of an eye, the garage dissolved. The first thing I noticed was the absence of weight. The heavy ache of my earthly body was gone. My chest no longer labored. My mind no longer hummed. I floated, suspended in a silence that wasn't empty, but full of presence. I wondered, am I dreaming? And yet dreams had never felt this real. All around me, colors shimmered. Gold, silver, sapphire, all alive, moving like water. I reached out my hand, and they wrapped around it like silk threads. They hummed gently as if they were alive and welcoming me. Then I heard it. Voices, but not spoken. They were wordless songs, vibrations that entered directly into my heart. One said, "Do not be afraid." Another said, "You are more than you ever knew." I cried out, "Where am I?" In front of me, a corridor of light appeared, stretching farther than I could see. Its walls pulsed as if they had breath, shining softly with every rhythm. I hesitated. Should I step forward? I asked myself almost out loud. Then a voice, sweet, deep, and unmistakable, whispered, "James." The moment I heard my name, my knees buckled. No one had ever said it like that. Not my parents, not my wife, not even myself. It wasn't just someone identifying me. It was someone claiming me. And I knew instantly who it was. The corridor was not made of stone or wood. It was woven from something alive, pure light that pulsed like a heartbeat. I whispered, "This can't be real." But it was more real than the ground I had walked on my entire life. Every step forward made the walls shine more brightly, almost as if they were responding to me. When I touched aside, warmth spread into my hand. I gasped, "You are alive." Suddenly, images rippled across the walls, my own life, flashes of moments I had forgotten. Me as a child, sitting alone in the schoolyard, whispering a prayer for a friend. Me as a teenager, crying in my room, thinking no one cared. Me as a young father, holding my daughter for the first time, whispering, "I will never abandon you." Tears filled my eyes. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked out loud. The corridor answered, not with words, but with a deep hum that vibrated inside my chest. Every moment matters. Every second is seen. The images faded, and ahead the light grew stronger, pulling me forward. I hesitated, whispering, Am I ready for what awaits me? And just then, the warmth enveloped me like a hug, silent but reassuring. So I took a step forward, my heart pounding, knowing I was going towards something far beyond my understanding. As the corridor opened wider, I saw them, figures made entirely of light. They had no faces like ours, but their presence was unequivocally alive. I stopped. Who are you? My voice trembled. One of them approached, radiating a peace so dense I could almost breathe it. I didn't hear words with my ears. Instead, thoughts gently imprinted themselves on my mind. We are here to support you. I whispered. Support me for what? They didn't answer directly. Instead, another being raised its arm, and a sphere of brilliant light floated toward me. It entered my chest, and instantly, the trembling in my soul calmed. I gasped. Thank you. They didn't reply back with gratitude. They didn't need to. Their silence carried more comfort than 1,000 words. I felt divided. One part of me wanted to fall to my knees before them. Another part whispered, don't worship them. They are not the source. The beings seemed to agree. They all turned at once, directing their light forward, toward something greater. A voice entered my heart again. You are about to meet the one who has always known you. My knees grew weak. You mean Jesus? The figure pulsed brighter as if it were nodding. I pressed my hands against my chest. I'm not worthy. I'm not ready. The voice came again, firm and gentle. You were never chosen because you were worthy. You were chosen because you are loved. And in that moment, the corridor trembled with a new brilliance. Light beyond light. The brilliance ahead wasn't just luminosity. It was a presence. It pressed in on me, dense and heavy, and yet warm and safe. And then it happened. James. My name spoken not as a sound, but as eternity itself. I fell to my knees immediately. Yes, I hear you. All my life people had spoken my name. Parents, friends, my wife. But this was different. It wasn't someone identifying me. It was someone claiming me. The voice spoke again, more softly this time. James. And with that single word, I felt as if every wound in me, every heartbreak, every failure was healing. I whispered through tears, I know you. I have always known you. For the first time, I didn't question faith. I didn't wonder if I had imagined it because the one who had created me was calling me by name. And I recognized his voice. I whispered, I am afraid. The voice filled me again like wind blowing through leaves. Do not be afraid. I have always been with you. Suddenly, the corridor vibrated as if the entire universe were bowing in reverence. The beings behind me bent lower, their radiant forms dimming in humility. I held my chest, trembling. He is here. He is really here. And then, from the center of the brilliance, a figure began to emerge. At first, I saw only an outline, a man-shaped figure brighter than the sun. And yet, I could look at him without pain. I whispered, It's you. He didn't need to announce himself. My spirit already knew. His robe shimmered like woven morning light. His face was beyond description. But somehow it was familiar, as if I had known him forever, and yet was seeing him for the first time. When his eyes met mine, I broke. In them, I saw everything. My mistakes, my regrets, my joys, my love for my wife and daughter. It was all there, reflected in his gaze. But instead of judgment, his eyes held a love so fierce, so relentless, that I crumpled. I fell forward. I don't deserve you, I whispered. He reached out his hand, touching mine, and instantly life surged through me. Not earthly life, but something eternal. His voice, gentle yet filled with thunder, said, "James, you were never forgotten." Tears streamed from me, though they weren't physical tears, more like waves of release. But Lord, why me? Why show me this? He smiled, not just with his lips, but with his whole being. Because I chose you before you ever chose me. His words hit me like lightning, and then his expression grew serious. His eyes, those unending eyes, seemed to pierce time itself. He leaned closer and whispered, "I must show you what is coming at the end of September." When Jesus touched my hand, it wasn't just comfort. It was a waking up. In that single moment, I remembered things I had forgotten from childhood, and even things I didn't know my soul had ever seen. Memories poured into me, standing barefoot in the grass as a boy, whispering a prayer to God before I even knew his name. The time I almost gave up on myself as a teenager, but suddenly felt a peace wash over me. The night I stayed up crying after my father died, and somehow felt that I was not alone. I gasped, "That was you all along, wasn't it?" He nodded gently, his eyes full of knowing. "Yes, James. I was with you in every silent moment. Even when you thought I was silent, I was speaking through the quiet." I wept. I forgot. I didn't realize it was you. His grip tightened slightly. "Now you will remember, and what I show you today, you will never forget." The corridor pulsed with brighter light, and I felt my very soul open, prepared for something immense. I whispered nervously, "Lord, what are you about to show me?" He leaned close. 4 events. They will begin at the end of September and the start of October 2025. You must tell this not to frighten but to awaken, for my people need to prepare their hearts. My heart pounded. 4 events. He nodded again, his gaze so steady that it calmed me even as fear rose within. The vision suddenly opened like a curtain being pulled away. I gasped. Before me lay the earth, but not as I had ever seen it before. People everywhere began to feel something stirring inside them. Jesus explained, "The first event will not be on the outside. It will be on the inside. A global awakening in the heart. At the end of September, countless souls will feel a strange pull, a whisper they cannot explain. Some will call it anxiety. Some will call it madness. But it will be me knocking on their hearts." I watched as ordinary people stopped in the middle of activity. Men dropping their tools, women stopping with their groceries, children looking up from their games. They all felt it. A sudden, inner knowing. Many cried without knowing why. I whispered, "They are waking up." He nodded. "Yes, but not everyone will respond. Some will bury the stirring with distractions. But those who stop, those who listen, will begin to sense my presence more than ever before. This will be the start of the separation. The awakened from the distracted." The scene was overwhelming. I saw friends calling each other saying, "Do you feel it too?" Families gathered, uncertain of what was happening, but sensing that something beyond human explanation had arrived. I held my chest. "This will change everything." Jesus replied, "Yes, James, for the first event is not about destruction. It is about awakening." The vision shifted suddenly. The sky itself seemed to tremble. I saw colors, strange auroras stretching across places that had never known them before. People poured into the streets, staring upward in shock. I gasped, "What is this?" Jesus spoke firmly. "The second event will be written in the heavens and the earth. The skies will show wonders and the ground will groan. People will be afraid, but my children will know these are signs of the times." I watched as the earth shook in places not known for earthquakes. Rivers spilled over their banks as deserts bloomed unexpectedly. The weather contorted strangely, confusing even the experts. Crowds of scientists stood baffled, saying, "We have no explanations." But the faithful raised their hands, whispering, "We know what this means." I whispered, "So the earth itself will respond." He nodded. "Yes, for creation groans for redemption. These signs will not be for harm, but for awakening. Some will mock, some will tremble, but those with open eyes will understand. I am speaking through creation itself." My legs wavered. "Lord, will people be ready?" His eyes softened. "Some will and some won't. This is why you must tell them, James." The vision changed again, this time showing the halls of governments and places of power. Leaders sat at tables, whispering behind closed doors. But suddenly their secrets spilled out. Documents leaked, recordings surfaced, and lies collapsed under the weight of truth. I gasped. Everything is being exposed. Jesus nodded. The third event will be exposure. In late September and early October, corruption will surface. Leaders, both political and spiritual, who have built their thrones on lies, will stumble. Secrets will no longer remain hidden. The world will watch as masks fall. I saw crowds in the streets, furious at what had been hidden from them. But I also saw churches divided. Some clung to the false teachers, others broke free. Families argued, friends unfriended each other. I whispered, "It looks so chaotic." He replied calmly, "Chaos only to those who do not understand. For truth is never chaos, it is light, and when the light shines, the shadows scatter." Then he leaned closer. "Tell them this. Do not be shaken when exposure comes. Do not lose heart when leaders fall. I am still king, and my kingdom cannot be corrupted." Tears slid down my face as I watched. So much division, but also so much purification. "Lord, this will be hard for many." His hand rested on mine. "Yes, but it is necessary, for the third event will break illusions and force people to choose truth or deception. It will hurt, but it will heal." The vision changed one last time, and what I saw was unlike anything before. People all over the world were gathering, but not in stadiums, not in churches, not in political rallies. They gathered in spirit. Jesus whispered, "The fourth event will be my gathering, not of a nation, not of a building, but of hearts. I will connect my children across oceans, languages, and cultures. They will begin to feel the same call at once, and their unity will terrify the enemy." I saw men and women praying in their homes, in fields, on rooftops, even in prisons. They were not waiting for permission. They were not waiting for leaders. They simply began to rise with one voice, singing, weeping, praising. I whispered, "It's as if the world is a single choir." He smiled, his eyes twinkling. "Yes, James. This will be the most beautiful event. As the world trembles with exposure and fear, my chosen will find one another. They will recognize each other through my spirit. It will be a preview of what is coming beyond this age." The vision swelled with light. It was not about one city or one place. It was about an invisible network of souls all awakening at once. And I knew this wasn't about a date on a calendar. It was about eternity breaking into time. I looked at him through tears. "Lord, why me? I'm nobody special. Why show me these things?" He moved closer, his gaze burning with gentleness. "Because I do not choose by status. I choose by surrender. You said yes to me in your quiet prayers, and I heard every word." I shook my head. "But I have failed you so many times. I have doubted. I have been weak." He took my hand again. "James, you are not chosen because you are flawless. You are chosen because you are loved. And when I love, I redeem. Your weakness is the stage where my strength shines." I wept harder, whispering, "I don't deserve it." His voice was firm but tender. No one deserves it. That is why it is called grace. I am showing you these things not to elevate you above others, but to send you back as a messenger. Tell them plainly. Speak with love. Do not fear their laughter, for those meant to hear will hear. The weight of his words settled in me like a fire I could not put out. I realized this wasn't about me at all. It was about his people. Lord, I whispered, everything you showed me feels so heavy. How will people not break under it? He smiled, his presence radiating peace. Tell them this. The shaking is not the end. It is the beginning. When what is false collapses, what is true will finally stand. My children must know this. Fear is not their inheritance. Hope is. I swallowed. But many are already tired. Many feel they cannot stand. He leaned closer. That is why I am sending my spirit in a greater measure. When they feel weak, I will be their strength. When they feel lost, I will whisper direction. When they feel alone, I will surround them with my people. The end of September will not destroy hope. It will reveal it. I whispered back. So the story doesn't end in fear. He smiled more brightly. No, James. The story ends in love. Tell them to look not at the storm, but at me. For even when the world shakes, I remain unshakable. His words imprinted on me, and for the first time in the visions, peace overwhelmed the weight of what I had seen. The visions faded, and I was left standing before him, bathed in endless light. My entire being ached. I whispered desperately, "Please let me stay. I don't want to go back." He placed his hand on my cheek. I know, my son. Every soul that tastes this place longs to remain, but your time is not finished. You still have words to speak, a family to love, and a testimony to carry. I shook my head. But life there feels so empty compared to this. His eyes grew even more tender. That is why I will come with you. You will not walk alone. When you doubt, remember my eyes. When you are afraid, remember my hand. When you speak, remember my promise. I will be with you always. I clung to his robes, sobbing. I don't want to forget you. His voice thundered softly. You won't. For what I have put in you will burn until you see me again. And then the corridor began to fade, pulling me backward. I cried out, Jesus! His last words echoed. I am with you, James. Always. Suddenly I felt the weight again. The laboring lungs, the pounding heart, the ache that tore at my body. My eyes fluttered open, and I saw my wife Maria's worried face leaning over me. James? James, can you hear me? I gasped, struggling to breathe. I saw him. Maria frowned. Saw who? Love? Tears streamed down my face. Jesus. I saw Jesus. Later, as I sat at home with Maria holding me tight, the ache in my body was sharp, but the fire in my soul burned brighter. I kept whispering, it's real. It's so real. For the first time in my life, I was no longer wondering. I was no longer guessing. I knew. And that joy drowned out every pain. So here I am writing this, not because I want attention, but because I was commanded to. Jesus showed me 4 events that will begin in late September and early October 2025. The awakening of hearts, signs in creation, the exposure of corruption, and the gathering of his chosen in spirit. He told me not to be silent, even if people mock me. So, I write this for you. Do not be afraid. Do not drown in the noise. Prepare your heart, not your barns. Cling to him, not to the shadows. When the end of September comes, it will not just be about headlines or disasters. It will be about where your soul stands. My name is James Martinelli, and I have passed into a realm beyond time. I saw Jesus, and he told me this. Hope is not lost. The end is not a condemnation. It is the beginning of revelation. And I will not keep this to myself. When I came back, everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. The sound of birds in the morning suddenly felt like a choir. The simple act of drinking water made me whisper, "Thank you." Even traffic lights shone differently, reminding me of the corridor of light I had walked through. But the hardest part was that people expected me to be normal again. My neighbors laughed. James is lost in his thoughts again. Maria would ask me casually, "How are you?" And I wanted to shake her and shout, "Do you realize eternity is closer than you think?" I found myself stopping mid-conversation, remembering his eyes. I would stop fixing a clock, tears running down my face, whispering, "You are here, aren't you?" And always, I felt him near. The aftershocks were not just visions. They were changes in my heart. Every ordinary thing became holy. Every passing moment carried the weight of eternity. One evening, I tried to tell a close friend. "I have to share something with you," I said nervously. He tilted his head. "Is everything okay?" I whispered. "I saw Jesus." He showed me what is coming at the end of September. His face changed instantly. A nervous laugh escaped his lips. "James, are you sure it wasn't a dream?" I smiled faintly. No dream feels more real than life itself. This was beyond life. But he shook his head. "You've been under stress. Maybe your mind." His doubt stung. I went home that night whispering, "Lord, why is this so hard to share?" And his answer imprinted on my spirit. "Because truth shakes comfort. But do not stop speaking. Even if only one heart listens, it is enough." I realized that carrying this message wasn't about convincing. It was about planting seeds. Some would laugh, some would ignore. But those who were ready would awaken. Still, it felt heavy. Some days I wanted to be silent. But the silence burned inside me like fire. Every time I check the calendar now, my heart beats faster. The end of September is no longer just a time of year. It's a countdown. At the supermarket, I hear people talking about politics, money, gossip. Inside, I am screaming. If you knew what was coming, you would prepare differently. Sometimes at night, I wake up at 3:33 again. The room feels thick, almost alive. I hear his whisper, "Tell them. Remind them. Do not fear their laughter." Maria once noted, "James, why do you stare at the sky so much lately?" I hugged her tight and whispered, "Because the sky feels closer every day. It is not panic I feel. It is urgency. Like a clock tower about to strike." Jesus did not tell me about the end of September 2025 to terrify me. He told me so I could share. And the urgency will not let me rest. If you are hearing this, please do not dismiss it as a story. I am not a preacher, not a prophet. I am just James Martinelli, a retired mechanic, a husband, a father, an ordinary man who passed into eternity and came back with a message. Jesus showed me 4 events in late September and early October 2025. Hearts awakening, creation responding, corruption exposed, and his children uniting like never before. He told me, "Do not be afraid. Prepare your heart. Cling to me." So my final plea is this. Take him seriously. Not the religion, not the tradition. Him. Talk to him tonight. Even if you've never done it before, whisper his name, because when the shaking begins, his hand will be the only steady one to hold. I cannot remain silent. I will not. The end of September is closer than we think, and His love is closer than our very breath. There are nights when I try to be silent. I sit on the porch with a cup of tea, looking at the stars, telling myself, "Don't talk about it anymore, James." People will laugh. They will roll their eyes. But then the silence becomes unbearable. It's not an empty silence. It is His silence. It presses in on me until I whisper, "Lord, I cannot carry this alone." And I feel Him answer gently in my spirit, "You were never meant to. I gave you my words so they could flow through you. Do not block the river. Let it flow." Still, it is difficult. At family gatherings, I see the looks when I mention Jesus too often. Friends change the subject when I talk about the end of September. Sometimes my own relatives sigh and murmur, "He's obsessed." I go to bed heavy, whispering, "Why give me this burden if no one wants to hear?" And He answers every time, "Because someone somewhere is listening, even if you never know who." Speak, James. Even whispers travel farther than you think. This is what keeps me going. This is why I cannot bury this in silence, no matter the cost. I will be honest. There are mornings when I doubt myself. I wake up groggy, look around my small kitchen and wonder, did that really happen? Did I really see Him? Or was it just my mind grasping for hope? The doubt stings. It feels like betrayal. "Lord," I whisper, "why do I still question after seeing you face to face?" And then something small happens. Maria laughs in her sleep, whispering, "Jesus," without knowing it. Or I see a stranger at the bus stop reading a Bible, tears in their eyes. Or I wake up at 3:33 again, and the room feels filled with that same presence I felt in the corridor. It is in those moments that He reminds me, faith is not the absence of doubt. Faith is choosing me. Even when doubt screams the loudest, I exhale and whisper back, "All right, Lord, I choose you again." The shadow of doubt still comes, but it no longer rules me. My anchor is His promise, His eyes, His touch, and nothing in this world, no laughter, no mockery, no silence can erase what I have seen. This is how I keep walking. One day at a time, one whisper at a time, one heartbeat closer to the end of September. When it all truly begins, when hearts suddenly awaken, when the sky shows signs that no one can explain, when the secrets of powerful leaders fall like autumn leaves, and when His children find each other across oceans and borders, remember these words. Remember that an old mechanic named James Martinelli saw all of this 5 days ago. Remember that Jesus Himself told me, "It is not the end of the world. It is the beginning of the awakening." And when it happens, when you feel that pull in your heart you can't explain, when you see signs that defy all human logic, when truth emerges from the darkness, and when you feel a spiritual connection to people you have never met, you will know that you are not alone. His love has been with you all along. And now, at the end of September 2025, He is about to show the world how deeply He loves every soul that seeks Him. Do not be afraid. He is already here. Thank you for staying with us until the very end. If you're still here, it's because this message has stirred something deep within your soul. Now, take one simple step that could change everything. Write the name of your country in the comments so we can cover your nation in prayer. Subscribe and activate the bell so you won't miss the daily revelations God is sending us. And before you leave, share this message with at least 3 people you love, because one single share might be the seed that brings someone back into the arms of God.